Jesus Freak here. So, the Bible issue is solved. If I go through with a Spanish version of my weekly videos, I have permission to use the NBLA for this. Now, I figured while I'm asking for the NBLA, I'll ask about NASB 95 because I figure, Lockman's a nonprofit. They're less likely to be, really picky about terms of usage than HarperCollins, who owns the NKJV. And as far as modern translations go, those are really the only two I'd look at. They're very similar in style, and I mean people are going to get on my case about the NASB. I understand that. And it's perfectly acceptable. I'm not going to stop the KJV version of my videos. And the main version of the videos is continue to be the KJV version. I'm sure that there's some people who appreciate that I might be doing a version that's not in ye olde English, although I'm also sure that my use of inflection makes this a little bit less of a crippling issue than it might otherwise be. So these would be in addition to the existing versions of the video. I'm probably going to try to introduce a NASB 95 based version of the readings right away. I'm still looking for more hymns to use in Spanish videos. I can't use the English ones, and I can't use copyrighted translations. So I'm limited to either unique Spanish hymns, and I only have 2 of those because of the copyright thing. I only have 2 specific Spanish hymns I can use. And I got a few dozen Spanish hymns that are translated from English. The quality varies a little bit. I'm going to probably look into introducing that. If I can, I'm going to try to introduce that in January. Because I want to give myself a little more time to try to either find more hymns or drop in some substitutes. The videos are going to be done exactly the same way as the English ones, except that they're going to have different titles. They're going to have modified logos or whatever. You'll know which one's the regular one, which one's the contemporary English one, and which one's the Spanish one. Thing is, I only have, right now, I have 2 copies of the NBLA and 1 copy of the NASB 95. So I'm going to probably have to look into try to improve that, and that might take a while because right now I'm a little bit tight on funds. So at least for the time being, you probably see the same Bible over and over, where in my KJV videos, I change it up a lot. So that's where I'm going for that. Now, again, the reason I chose NBLA specifically as opposed to RV60 when NBLA is based on Nestle Aland is because despite being based on Nestle Aland, it almost always agrees with the Textus Receptus. But there are several things where I would have had to modify the RV60 on the fly because it's a Jehovah's translation, and that kind of sticks in my craw. In this regard, it's like the ASV, if you know what I mean. And again, the only real choices I had for good mediating equivalent translation were NKJV, which is owned by HarperCollins, and they're going to probably be a bit stuck up about it if I try to use that, and NASB 95. You'll notice I'm very specific here. I'm saying NASB 95. I don't want to use NASB 20. And it should be pretty obvious that NASB 20 went in some directions that I have problems with and that I fault other translations for doing. So I'm aware there's some textual issues with the NASB. If I have to do something about that, I'll try to do something about that. So that's where that is. The prayers I read off, the collects that I read off at the beginning of the video, right after the first hymn, they come in both traditional and contemporary language. I call them the 1662 language and the 1979 language. So you'll get the same text either way. I'm solving the issue for if I do a Spanish version. I'm actually producing my own translations, which are probably going to be a little bit on the weak side because my Spanish isn't that great. So, although I'm consulting two existing Spanish translations, I have to do a copyright dodge, so the ultimate translation is going to be something different. And given my level of Spanish, it might be about a disaster. We'll see. Just going to the flow here. Anyway, Jesus freak out.